Alright, so let's move on to our good friend the Ranger, a personal favorite of mine. I used to run Ranger through Season 1 and 2, and then Ranger took a big nerf in Season 3, is no longer as strong, which is quite sad because it already wasn't one of the best to play with. But that's okay, we'll make do, we'll push on, because the Ranger's still a lot of fun to play, and super strong. For the most part. So, let's talk about it. Alright, so you start off with Ullr's Step when your bow is deployed. So that immediately says, if you pick Ranger, you are playing with bows or you are wasting skill points. Just straight out. Your level cap is no longer 10 or you're playing with bows. Okay, so maybe I lose 1. Your level cap's now 8. I mean, because that's another bow ability. Another bow ability. Another bow ability, another bow ability, another bow ability, and another bow ability. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total skills in here that you can go with that are not bow specific. And 2 of those are some of those terrible durability skills. So in reality, there's 8. So if you want to build a non-bow, you could just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 10. You'd probably create one of the worst optimized classes out there. I mean, shoot, you could even just do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you'd have a fast-moving Ranger that is losing out on 2 skill points, but can use Spear and Sword at Lightning, which is the only one that can use the Alva Spear at 30% and actually get to use a gold item of Baldur's Blade, because the rest of it doesn't exist, so the skill tree's not or the chart's not filled out for the weapons. So, but let's talk about it. All right. So when you kick off, you kind of just got your masteries and your embraces just tucked here on the side, where it's like, here you go, have these, enjoy them. We really don't care about you, Ranger. You do not matter. So yeah. But Ullr's Step, you get to do a stun knockback, which is kind of nice. It's currently bound to a G key, which is really weird on the keyboard. Wish that could be rebound. I made that note earlier in settings. Charge shot. You can kind of feel it. There's a lot of nuance to this. You can see that you do more damage. The slower of the decreased speed that you get from doing this now is not as much. But they had a very interesting design choice that would be on my roadmap to fix. It's on hit that it checks the conditions instead of on deploy. And what I mean by this is whenever I hold shift and then left click, it just fires an arrow. Now, whenever it hits an opponent, it then checks to see all of the damage bonuses and whatnot I have equipped to me. So technically, if I fire an arrow with this charge shot while holding shift, and then if I magically figure out some macro to unequip everything, when it hits, it will do damage checking my current stats. So because of this means when you go to normal fire a basic combo attack, you just tap shift to get the bonus whenever it hits without having to get the slow, which makes it a nuance and kind of ignores the charge shot. So yeah, that probably would need to be fixed, and I would adjust it to the arrows carry all of the information on them, which I know is more of a particle thing or a processor thing, and it's kind of tough to do. But hey, you know what? Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So that's a note on my roadmap there. Ullr's Step, rain arrows and leaping backwards, dealing medium damage. I like how it put medium in brackets as if it was stackable with other runes. So it was like, hey, we had this really neat rune idea, but now we just made it a Ullr's Step. So whoops, that was a oversight on that one there, guys. But yeah, this would also probably I would make this to whatever elemental arrow that I had selected, so that way it did more elemental benefits. But that's kind of all I had to say about that. It's fairly okay, doesn't do a whole lot of damage, and doesn't scale super well. Okay, early game, not so good. in higher double areas. So there's your bow mastery. Got to have that, which really stinks that you have to have these abilities, which I never ever use because they don't do enough, and they're hard to press. So I end up wasting skill points. Even with the bow build, I still waste skill points getting through the Uller step stuff. So I'd probably make it more practical, faster to use in one way or another, and make it do a little more damage. Alright. Moving on to the whole scout thing. Hey, look, we have a zoom out even further. This is incredible, and I get this as soon as possible because being able to see things is insanely good. Especially having the extra bow lasering, where it just goes perfectly straight, is very nice. It allows me to hit targets before they see me, which I really, really like. It is a good thing. This is just wonderful to have, especially when I'm running around at night trying to find my good old friends, the Mushroom Moon Bolts or Midnight U-Essence or any sort of nighttime stuff. It's wonderful to have for that. So this is very fitting to the class, and I would leave it be. It does not need to go anywhere. Weapon durability, again, unless I put in my roadmap a hardcore mode or a upper difficulty where durability actually matters. Granted, in certain ancient fights you might break a weapon or two, but in reality, if you have enough people to where the ancient breaks a weapon, then you have enough people to harvest enough materials, so you should have 2 of your best in slot weapon, so you just switch to the second one and keep going. Yeah, or just make a repair potion. But either way, the fact that items can resolve both of these skill points makes it just not worth using at all. So hey, look, it's replaceable by items. Don't get it. Moving on. Ricochet. Man, Ricochet is bad. I have so many beefs with Ricochet. It was just added. It's such a cool idea, and it's cool to watch it go off. But if you're trying to play with the lightning bow, which, hey, look, the only embrace you get without going gold is lightning, and you have to waste a skill point to get there. I'll run full fire. I used to run full fire bow, but I was like, I'm gonna do lightning and use the ricochet. It's cool as long as you don't also run piercing arrows, which is the best skill for ranger. It's great because it bounces and you do more guys. But if you do the right click, the base ability, the level 1 mana ability on the lightning bows, it counts as a ricochet shot, so it will try to ricochet, meaning that it will not actually pierce like it's supposed to. So that is on my roadmap to fix, to prevent ricochet from stopping the arrows from piercing. I think they just gave Ranger and the bows to interns, and they just don't like them. Because, yeah, if you get piercing arrows and you try to shoot through a line of 4 guys or 5 guys that are stacked up, it will proc off of the first one and only hit 4 guys when it could have hit 5. So I say just either make it to where it just pierces and ricochets, so it does insane amounts of damage, or quit giving me ricochet. It's not good. So Deep Quiver, a good skill. Probably just flip these so that you have options for the player to go with other than going with the ricochet if you're going to have it not be able to stack with piercing arrows. So yeah, just be able to grab Deep Quiver as a ranger player and not have to worry about ricochet unless you go into full ricochet. Because chances are if you're getting this, you're probably also getting Deep Quiver. So quick shot, increase speed of combo attacks. Hey look, just 20% more damage. Nothing wrong with that, unless you're trying to hold down shift and do your deployed shot, which you get a benefit from charge shots. So not really optimizing damage there, but it's besides the point. So you just gotta tap shift better, I guess, to exploit that to optimize your damage. So you see the problem here. Anyway, piercing arrows, it's what makes the ranger good. Being able to shoot through multiple enemies is fantastic, and you just get to laser through things. The main issue with bows is the fact that, well, they don't really pierce through stuff. So one left click can only hit one target, compared to the hammer, which can hit effectively infinite, but in reality, you're hitting like 4 or 5 guys. Same thing with a sword. The axe less so, because it's not quite the same sweep, but the AoE is not quite the same. And the downside is you don't do any more damage with bows. You just have the advantage of doing it from a range where you're kind of out of harm's way. So, yeah. Having the ability to pierce through is amazing, especially using the lightning bow where you already have more pierce is fantastic. Yeah, unless your pierce gets soaked up by ricochet, and that's very unfortunate. What was really nice is that you used to be able to, in previous seasons, use your left click to have a arc on your basic attacks, which was great because piercing arrows would hit once and then have a chance to hit the back foot in the same hitbox with the same arrow. So you would actually double your damage with a arrow, which means when fighting your commander, it was really great because you could do multiple hits with arrows. Now with the straight shot, you cannot do that anymore, which is very unfortunate. And another nerf that it took with the straight shot is you used to be able to stand up on the embattlements at your base there in the village and be able to shoot down and arc them correctly to hit enemies at the gates without having to go outside, but now you can't do that. Yeah, quite unfortunate. So, movement speed buffs, and then a slow. This all just totally checks out with the Ranger as a whole, and is very good. It all fits in. So, now I know because of symmetry, you got to have 5 embraces and masteries, as all the other classes do. So you give them bow, and then you give them a spear and a sword because there's exactly one other spear mastery that exists, and everybody's got sword. In fact, there's only one that doesn't have sword mastery, so everyone can use swords, and everyone can use fire, and yeah, except for this guy, I can't use fire, and there's one other guy who can use swords. But the point being is that a sword was nice as an offhand, if you had sword and dart. Cool. The downside is that with spear and lightning, that's it. You just have dark and lightning. The bow's the only one that has access, or one of the few that has access to all 3 elements, and it only can embrace on one of them. So you can't really optimize the Ranger build at all without wasting a skill point to get through the spear mastery. So flip it. Put the embraces first and then put the weapon masteries after if someone wants to play around with a different style of play. Or, worst case scenario, just go ahead and break the symmetry and give this all 4 elemental masteries with the bow and just say, yep, they're a bow. Doesn't matter, you can't get any other masteries. Sorry, you're playing with bow. Pick your favorite element. Go from there. So, there's my thoughts on that. Move lightning over here. Move dark over here. And then put ice and fire off the beginning. And just let them go ham. Granted, firebow with the archer, because of piercing arrows, is one of the highest damage builds I've ever run. Due to the fire shotgun having piercing is incredibly good. And with 2 soul powers, you can 2-shot your commander. Or used to be able to, but now I feel like everything's gotten nerfed, so it's a bummer. But another thing, this is also on my roadmap, is how do we fix Ranger? Well, here's what you do. You take the spear and you give it the ability to go into a deployed mode as well. So instead of holding shift and doing nothing, because hammer also does nothing, but you go into shift and you switch to a javelin stance where you can get the benefits off of Ullr's Step, you can get the benefits off of Charge Shot, and you can throw it, and it's a ranged attack, giving it a little more versatility, making more sense for the Ranger, and maybe not give it the same thing as the specific arrows, but for the most part, give it all the same benefits so you can use the spear as well in the same way that you use the bow. So allow it to shift, go into a javelin stance, and just throw it like a javelin. I think that's probably a really good way to fix this issue here. It may have been an intended design that they just didn't get to that point because of well, I still think to the fact that the lightning spear only has 2 steps tells me there's so much more that they meant to do that they did not get done in time. Whoops. That would be on my roadmap as well. And honestly, that just needs to be added anyway. And then same thing, whenever the 6th weapon gets added of the staff, the iron staff, swap that out and make them more of an actual ranger class to where they can use mage stuff as well. But all in all, Ranger's in a really rough spot right now and is at my top of the list of rebuilds to do. Well, that may not be everything I have to say about the Ranger, but 15 minutes is enough talking about good old Ranger. So, thanks for watching this episode. We will move into the Guardian in our next one. Feel free to drop comments below. And as always, head over to the Tribes of Midgard Discord. Send some messages over there. You can ping me. But please don't. Just don't ping me. Just drop messages. I'll find them. I promise. But yeah. Thanks for watching. And just as a reminder, if I end up accidentally correctly predicting anything that comes up, whoops, I'm just in tune. I promise I do not work for Norsefell or any of its affiliate companies. Just want to make that disclaimer once again. So, alright, see you in the next video, everybody. Take care.